I haven't streamed for a minute, boys, so let me check the audios and stuff. Okay, sounds like we are all good now. So I know I didn't start streaming when this game launched, unfortunately. I wanted to experience some, some story and stuff like that, and just kind of get my gripes with the game. But so far, I am loving it. I am currently, I've only made one character so far, and it's a necromancer. I am currently level 49. And the crazy thing is, right, with being level 49, right, a lot of people are like, oh, a lot of reviewers are like, oh, I blasted through the campaign in 6 hours, and in 5 hours, and, 8 hours or whatever. And there's 6 acts, keep in mind. I'm barely on Act 2, and I know you guys can't see my full screen right now, but according to the PlayStation, I have a total of 24 hours in the game, and I'm barely on Act 2. Granted, I did a whole bunch of the side dungeons and everything that you could probably see here, which just provide, like, bonuses and things to that extent. So I've really been loving this game, for sure. But yeah, so thought I'd start the stream, fresh on Act 2. Just because Act 1, I mean, everybody's done Act 1 from the closed beta, the early access beta, the open betas, and the server slams. So a lot of people have seen this stuff. That's why I didn't stream it. But going through and leveling, actually, without me even grinding or having to rerun dungeons, honestly, with all the side quests that I did in the first area, which I'm still not done with everything, as you can see, the fact that I'm already on level 49 is just crazy to me. But yeah, I'm using a summon necromancer. Yeah, I get to raise the dead, because I know how necromancers work. I use a lot of corpse explosion. I do, instead of just letting my skeletons do all the damage, I'll do some AoE effects a lot with this blight stuff, which is almost like debuff poison to them, to enemies. So I'm enjoying it very much so. So we're just going through Act 2. I'm currently on a side quest. Yeah, I gotta clear out this dungeon. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring you guys along with me. I know I haven't streamed for a while, so I apologize. Oh, no, the only thing really with the
I'm out of essence.
With the necromancer, or at least with this build, I should say, there's not a lot of builds utilize this, or I do struggle with this. It's more of a visual thing, and I'm not even upset with it in all reality. But when I start exploding things all over, you can see how far you get to hit my character. But it's okay, because to me that just means, it's DOTs or damage over times on the floor. So my build isn't 100% optimized yet. I don't have all legendary or legendary aspects, but I'm not worried about any of that until I get the end game release. In reality. I still do pretty good damage. I have to clear some things out. Not too bad overall.
I need more time. I need more essence.
Other than that, not too bad. And granted, I mean, again, it's just more of a visual thing, seeing all the smoke. But to me, that just makes me feel like there's a bunch of DOT down. which is always nice. But yeah, so just running a quick build now with Diablo builds. Well, for a lot of builds actually in general with a bunch of ARPGs, whether they're isometric or not, but just action RPGs in general. I don't like to really look at build guides because I don't want to just copy and paste something. So this is just something that I was thinking of when the second beta came out, because I knew I wanted to utilize something here with, of course, summoning, which is whole part of, you know, being part of a necromancer, summoning the dead. But I also wanted to go ahead and provide some corpse explosion. So I saw that this shadow damage thing that I do is very effective.
I'm low on essence.
The fact that I just start throwing corpses everywhere. It's always nice. Look at my build. So with Diablo 4, the skill tree almost kind of reminds me of a Borderlands, and the reason why I mention that is because in Borderlands, right, when you're picking a skill tree, you kind of want to look at what's known as the capstone, or the last skill. In Diablo 4, it's known as a key passive, and for the most part, you're always going to want to revolve your build around these key passives. For example, this one is about bone skills, right? So if I was doing like a bone skill, I'd want to take this one, you know, which is the very last node, by the way. You don't get this till the end, but you build to it. This one's more about being healthy and staying, you know, mainly blood damage. This one you could use for minions, but the thing is here, I'm not going straight minion build. I am doing more of the whole shadow damage or dark damage. And plus this one doesn't seem too good. It says after you have not taken damage in the last 3 seconds, your minions gain 15% attack speed. While you have at least 7 minions, this bonus is doubled. Yeah, like attack speed's cool, but it doesn't add any actual damage. Granted, it does add DPS. Let me check on the stream real quick. Give me just a second. Okay, cool. We're still good. It's just my stream or my internet's been bugging out lately. But look, we took a look at this one, right? Shadow Blight. Shadow damage infects enemies with Shadow Blight for 2 seconds. You and your minions deal 10% bonus damage to enemies with Shadow Blight. Every 10th time an enemy receives shadow damage from you or your minions while they are affected with Shadow Blight, they take an additional 237 shadow damage, right? So then if we take a look at the skills starting from the very top when you first start off, right, you can kind of see where these start kind of building, because, you know, bone splinters, you're doing bone damage. This one, you're doing more blood damage. I went with Decompose, because one, it's a darkness skill, which does shadow damage now because of that key passive that I have. It's called Essence for Necromancer, but it's basically your, in Diablo 3 here, you'd call your generator or your mana, basically. You know, you use mana up every time and then doing damage and stuff like that will bring it back. Or it normally goes up here by itself as well, but it takes a little bit longer. But the reason why I picked to Decompose specifically is not only does it do darkness, which is going to go and do the shadow as well with that key passive, but on top of that, if you get the Acolytes Decompose, you and your minions deal 10% increased damage to enemies who are being decomposed. So as this is more of just a channeling skill. It's not my main damage dealer, but, you know, it's there to help me get more essence when I am running low. But the fact that as I'm doing this, you know, to enemies, they're going to be taking 10% additional damage just from this alone. Not even to put in effect the key passive that I have. And then we move on to the second node here. Second node, this is my what I would skill. This is what's going to take the most. Again, it does darkness damage, which means in turn it also does shadow damage because of the key node. It's Blight, so I throw this little, again, looking more at minion damage. You and your minions deal 15% increased damage to enemies within Blight. So we pop this, right? The enemies are in the pool of Blight or whatever. They're taking an additional 15% from both me and my minions, right? Then on top of that too, if I'm also using Decompose, that's another 10% on top of that, meaning they're taking 25 additional damage, right? For just those two skills alone that I'm using. Then we get into the Corpse Explosion. Corpse Explosion, if you've played any other Diablo game as a Necro, you would know what it does. It does explode a corpse. Pretty self-explanatory. Let me find one of these old corpses.
I'm not ready yet.
Maybe. I think they've despawned. So, anyways, usually with Corpse Explosion, it would go ahead and explode around, do AoE damage. You know, getting the first node is going to go ahead and increase the radius by 15%, making it larger, which is nice. However, this is where shadow damage kind of gets back into it. So I have Blighted Corpse Explosion, which essentially just means it's going to be a darkness skill, and instead of exploding as like a, you know, physical, it's going to be exploding and it releases that viral miasma, which is just basically blight, but in a larger radius, right? So if I take a look, can't find a
I'm
corpse
not
anywhere.
ready yet.
Hopefully there's one up here. Okay, so this is my regular blight, right? It needs a little bit of a pull. This is my Corpse Explosive blight. You can see it a lot bigger of a range, or radius, sorry. So that alone now, you know, now I'm getting more DOT down on the ground, which is nice. Also within this key, or within this node here, I'm also going to pick up, I picked up 3 out of 3 of the Skeleton Warrior Mastery. This is just going to increase the damage of my regular Skeleton Warriors, not the mages or the Golem, but just the Warriors itself, the Grunts. Also picked up 2 for Grim Harvest every time I consume a corpse, which I'm always consuming corpses, whether it be for Corpse Explosion or for healing my minions. So I'm going to be generating some additional essence, and not only that, but then when I also consume the corpse, I'm going to be doing an additional 9% increased damage for over 6 seconds after consuming the corpse, which is nice. Next, this one, okay, so these are curses. I'm not worried too much about curses. The only reason why there's 2 in this one is because of one of the pieces of gear I'm wearing gives me 2. I'm not using any curses. Really what I'm getting from this one is the Skeleton Mage Mastery. So now my mages have additional damage and life. This one you kind of get a little bit more into the whole darkness or shadow kind of damage. These are some great 1-point wonders. I don't care much as far as Reaper's Pursuit because I don't care about movement speed by that much. I might Darkness because it's going to go ahead and give them stun chance, but again, I'm not too worried about stun. The main ones that I was focusing on are Terror and Gloom. Gloom makes it so that when basically when you do damage here with the Darkness skills, which is going to be the Shadow Blight, everything that I'm basically doing right now here, they're going to take an additional 6% increased shadow damage from me and my minions for 2 seconds, and that stacks up to 3 times, which is nice. And not only that, but then 9% bonus damage to enemies who are slowed, and 9% bonus damage to enemies who are stunned or immobilized. So I might end up picking up this just for the stun, so go ahead and go good with this as well. But again, you know, you're taking everything that's doing dark damage, or everything that's doing darkness damage is also going to be doing this Shadow Blight thing. And all the skills that I have are doing dark damage, so everything's just synergizing really well. In this tree you have your ultimate. I just went with Army of the Dead. It's nice here because they release, with regular Army of the Dead it's always nice, right? But then you get 2 nodes with it. You have exploding corpses. They also have a 15% chance of leaving a corpse behind that I can go ahead and consume, which is nice. And then let's say you're starting getting low on some of your summons, right? You can go ahead and pop this, and their Skeleton Warriors and Skeleton Mages will pop back up, which is always nice. I got 3 into Golem Mastery, which again, life and damage by 75% additionally, which is nice. These are some other kind of straight summon skills. 3 out of 3 for this one. So Skeletal Priest. Skeletal Priest is when you have everything summoned, and then you press the summon button again on a corpse. It'll go ahead and heal and buff all the summons essentially. So I got 3 into that. There's over 5 seconds, 60% of their my summon's health back to them. And then on top of this too, this is great here because minions cannot lose more than 30% of their maximum life from a single damage instance, which means they're not going to get one shot as easily. They might take 3 or 4 without being healed before they actually die. But yeah, so far that's the build. So we're just kind of running some dungeons. You can see on the bottom left where Shadow Blight and everything start stack. I can move
I need more time.
not too bad right now. I think I want to go back into town after this dungeon and swap out for some legendaries and maybe just upgrade them to 3 real quick. Just because they were giving me better synergies than what I'm using right now. Technically, what I'm using right now is a higher gear level,
I'm low on
but
essence.
I'm not too worried about that. If I can synergize more, it'll be better for it. So as you can see, I kind of really do a lot of damage, let my minions go in there, do all the dirty work while I just kind of stay behind, buff them, make sure enemies are debuff, make sure guys dodge on the ground.
I'm low on essence.
But yeah, I hope everybody's having themselves a fantastic day. I know I've been loving this game for sure. The fact that I have, it's probably going to be 25 hours now of this, and I'm barely on active. There's 6 packs.
I'm not ready.
Definitely has a lot of replayability. Not to mention with the other classes that you can go ahead and see as well.
I'm low on essence.